Hey guys, my name is Jimmy, and this is Sasha. She's a year old. I'm 28. And what I wanted to do is, if you're seeing this video, it may be related to Coseva Advanced TRS. This is a product that absolutely saved my life in the beginning of May due to toxic mold exposure. So what I'm going to do is tell you chronologically what happened with me, what happened with my puppy, and tell you how I engineered my way out of this beyond what the doctors could do. So at the beginning of April, after 3.5 months of gaining a bunch of weight, about 35 pounds in 3 months without any diet changes, going into the apartment and seeing, that I was breaking out in hives, skin being on fire, as well as massive neurological issues, I started finding out that I might have toxic mold in my apartment. I had a friend of mine that went through this, and she said, your symptoms are right around toxic mold exposure like mine. And she had gained a whole bunch of weight as well, and that was my biggest issue, was my weight gain. My neurological issues that I was going through, I was literally forgetting my own age. I was having to ask my Amazon Echo how old I was, what year it was, and it was just becoming really alarming. I had issues unlocking my own apartment door just to get into the apartment, and I had just starting a brand new job, and things were becoming very, very dire very, very quickly. You should have seen, my skin and how bloated I was. After this video, if you ask me for a couple pictures, I can show you, pretty much from day 1 to 6 months in, how my body has improved since this whole thing has went down. So, the people above me, their shower drain leaked, whole ceiling came down, and my apartment complex replaced the ceiling, everything was fine. And then 1.5 years later, I started showing symptoms. I made contact with the landlord. I personally have Hyatt Legal, which is a litigation plan through my workplace, and everything litigation was taken care of. But fortunately, I didn't have to go down that route. I had to fight with my landlord for quite a while until water started coming out of the walls when I was taking a shower. But I was finally able to get out of the lease and move to a different apartment where I am now, and replace my couch, my bed, and a couple of other things that were clearly making me react. So my friend, who had also went through the mold situation, began giving this to her kids, and everything, when she told me about it, everything inside of me, it felt right. I had already bought almost $1,000 in essential oils, and I was taking those things internally nonstop, and nothing was really improving. Things were helping, but I went to the clinic, and the clinic basically told me, your ALT and AST levels. AST was 38 at the time, ALT was 58. You need to stop drinking, but I don't drink. What are you doing with your diet? Stop eating so much fatty foods, and and then basically referred me over to an immunologist, and said, we can't help you anymore except give you some rash cream for the fungal infection under your arm. And so I was pretty much dead in the water. I used to be an EMT, so I know how this whole thing goes. Most doctors really don't know how to respond to mold exposure except for get out of the environment, which I was trying to do. But I was at risk of losing my job, losing my apartment, losing my livelihood, most of my property, because I had just started a new job, and now my health is in grave jeopardy, right? So I got this stuff, and I started taking it. When you first start with it, you're supposed to, take 1 spray a day. I started with 4. I'm a little crazy. And then on the weekends, I bumped it up to 9. And I slept a lot when I first started. But basically, when I came into the apartment, I'd break out in hives. I would, be scratching all over the place. If you knew me before, I would always walk around like this, because my body was such in a state of chaos. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 3, and I was taking Ritalin, Concerta, Strattera, up until around 16 years old, and then I stopped and started trying to deal with it on my own, and which I wasn't doing very well at. When you know, the first 10 days were very interesting. Like I said before, I slept a lot. But within 3 days of taking TRS, I went from having to sleep outside on my patio to actually able to sleep in my own bed again. I couldn't even go to the bathroom in the apartment. I had to go down to, you know, the leasing office just to go to the bathroom because I couldn't even breathe inside of the bathroom, let alone take a shower. I had to do that at work. And within about 3 days, I was able to go back to doing all of those things. You know, sleeping, showering, and going to the bathroom inside the apartment. I had spent some time outside the apartment at my dad's place in a different part of the state and noticed immediately the improvements of just being away from the environment. As well as my puppy, she also started having much better time breathing at night. She'd heavy breathe like crazy. And she also had massive bowel issues, you know, for the first 6 months of having her. I got her in January, so she had dealt with 4 months of being in the mold, just like me. But after about 10 days, I started noticing my skin getting a lot lighter, you know, my inflammation started going down. And just to give you a quick background on what TRS is, it is a lab-grown zeolite. It is classified as a aluminosilicate. The overarching umbrella is zeolite. Under that is aluminosilicate. And under that is klimpentolite. I know I'm saying that incorrectly, but that's the actual active ingredient in this stuff. And it is lab grown. I know in the health world, we all think we gotta have natural, when it comes to zeolites, you don't want it natural. You want it as pure as possible. If you get it natural, it's going to be already absorbed, whatever's in the earth, and it's only going to have half of its gas tank left to absorb whatever positively charged toxins are in your body. So to give you some idea, like what this can absorb, it absorbs everything that's positively charged that has not been metastasized into a salt. So it does not affect your organs. It is not taxed by your organs. I'll say it like that. Your liver doesn't see it. Your brain doesn't see it. It just, you know, literally pulls the toxins into itself and then excretes them out of your urine, fecal matter, or sweat about 6 hours later. You're supposed to take, you know, I do 3 sprays every 6 hours because of that 6-hour mark. And I've been doing that now for almost 4 months. I literally have a bag of 6 of them. I keep my bottles. Yeah, that's just some background, you know. What can it absorb? Mercury, cadmium, aluminum, lead, arsenic, and pesticides like glyphosate. You know, I have a picture of like literally everything it can absorb. Anything positively charged that hasn't been metastasized by the body. So after about 10 days, you know, of sleeping an immense amount on the weekends, like I'd go to sleep, I'd sleep all day long, you know, and that's how I started. Different people are affected in different ways. Some people don't have any reactions at all, and they're like, this stuff is not working. And then some people, like myself, you know, they have a little bit more reaction or immediate improvement. After about 15 days, my ADHD symptoms started to subside. I started having easier time staying still, like I'm able to do right now. If you knew me before, I looked like I was on heavy drugs. And I had a lot of trouble in social settings. I didn't understand. I also had a lot of trouble with women. And about 20 days in, I would literally go to an outing and be able to stay still and talk to people. It's bizarre. And my coworkers are like, dude, what are you taking? What do you want? And I said, you know, hey, you can come along this journey with me. I'm on this stuff. I'm on Coseva. And, you know, after about a month or so, I started seeing major improvements. For 25 years, I've had food sensory issues involving vegetables. And now I'm able to juice carrots, beets, apples, bananas. I'm able to eat all of those things and have no issue eating vegetables. And I'm starting really, really slow. So furthering right along, I was able to move out of the apartment and get out of my lease and move into this new apartment. I had to get rid of a couple things that made me respond and react, like my couch, my bed, mattress, and some clothes and stuff. But overall, I'm still taking this stuff. I've just finished my 6th bottle, I believe in about 4.5 months. And ideally, you're supposed to take 2 sprays in the morning, 3 at night, 3 in the evening. But after listening to this video, you can look up and join that group and see everybody's testimony and how it's helped them. Another thing I want to talk about as well is EMF. When I became exposed to the heavy molds and it got to a point where my toxic load was too high, I also had to deal with EMF as well. I got to the point where I had to turn my Wi-Fi way down. I have a smart home here. I can turn off my my lights and all with my voice. I had to turn all of that off because it would just make my body react. And it even started making me react at work. One really cool thing with this is it pulls the heavy metals out. The interesting thing about electromagnetic frequencies is it's vibrating the heavy metals in your inner body, and your body's having a histamine. Your body's producing a histamine reaction to that, and of course, you know, you can't be near Wi-Fi or you can't have it near you. And I pretty much got to the point where I would walk into a building and I can literally tell you by feeling it where the lines of the Wi-Fi were. Literally where it started and where it ended and where it was most powerful. It's kind of weird, but I was pretty much a walk-in scanner. So the cool thing about TRS is about 2.5 months in, I've noticed a lot of my EMF sensitivities lowering and starting to subside. I'm not completely there yet, but I can put my laptop on my lap now, so that's really good. And the cool thing about TRS is it saved my life by removing the mold from my body. I did take blood tests 1 month in as well as before TRS. In 1 month, TRS lowered my ALT liver enzymes by 21 points. And it also lowered my AST levels by almost 13 points. And I have all that on record. I actually need to go back to the clinic and get a fresh blood test to kind of see how things are progressing, since I'm almost at that 6-month mark. So, you know, that can be available after this video is done, you know, at your consumption that I can share with. So, basically, that's the beginning of my story and how things have been. It's 70% reversed my ADHD, almost 90% reversed my food sensory involving vegetables. I no longer throw up when I eat vegetables now uncontrollably or gag. It has completely solved my mold exposure, and if you could see the picture, you know, beside each other, like my face before and a face after, I don't even look like the same person. As well as it's changing my eye color and removing the toxins from my eyes as well. So I hope this video has been helpful for you and informative, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.